Hello, it's me, your friend Henry, back at it again. I'm a doctor in regional Australia, and I'm giving half my income this year to charity because I think it's the right thing to do. Of course it's the right thing to do. I've won the birth lottery. I was born in Australia, of all places, and I was born to a loving family, and a combination of those factors alone mean that my life is going to be a lot better than the vast majority of the world. That's not fair at all, so we should try and make it fair. Of course. It's my first year working as a doctor. I earn way more than I need, as most of us do, as most doctors do. And I want to use the resources that I have to make the world a better place. And I want to do it in a way that's smart. This is the workathon. I am working 9 to 5, 5 days a week, equivalent. It is torture, it is hard. I am a hero for doing it. But I'm also giving half of the income that I earn to charity. And the charities I'm giving to, there's a lot that I'm giving to. Because there's a lot of great charities out there. And this is my pyramid scheme. It is a joke because pyramid schemes are usually malevolent, but haha, mine's not malevolent. Mine's me trying to, as hard as I can, earnestly to make the world a better place. The pyramid scheme is me giving money to great charities, and then it's me giving even more money to really, really great charities. And that's the idea. I've given to 4 different organizations this past paycheck, and there's a lot going on in the world at the moment. It's all pretty distressing what's going on in Afghanistan. The Taliban have taken Kabul and are basically in charge of the whole country now. And it's very worrying what that means in the near future and the long future for women in particular, because the Taliban's interpretation of Sharia law is pretty hardline, but also in the shorter term for the people that have been collaborating with the US and Australia for the last 20 years or parts of 20 years, who, are at pretty serious risk of getting executed as traitors. So, there's a lot of this in the news, and we're seeing a lot of it, a lot of distressing pictures and things. And I want to help. I want to make the situation better, and I want to protect the people that are in danger. I don't know how to do that. And I don't know that anyone really does. I don't think there's a clear NGO that we can give to that will, for sure, improve the situation. Because in emergency situations like this, there's so much going on and there's so many factors at play, and everything's happening so quickly that it's really hard to know what's actually doing real good. Probably the best thing we can do is, the most help's probably going to come from the governments, because they have the power of diplomacy and managing visas and, evacuations and things. So what I actually did today is I called my local MP, and I asked the local MP to try and... someone just followed me on Twitch. That's wild. Thank you. I asked my local MP to really try and ensure that the government's doing everything that it can to evacuate people that are at risk of getting executed as soon as possible. Not just Australian citizens, because controversial opinion, but it's not just Australian citizens that matter. Everyone else in the world matters as well. And we should be trying to evacuate everyone at risk out of that place. Anyway, there are other emergencies happening all around the world all the time, not just the stuff that's happening in the news. And we should remember those all the time as well when we wake up and go to bed, and are at brunch, in the bath, at dinner, at work. One of those emergencies is preventable diseases. Hundreds of thousands of people, children, a lot of the time, die from preventable diseases. And by preventable, I mean like pretty easily preventable. For interventions that don't cost a lot of money, you can save lives. Malaria, diarrheal diseases like cholera, parasitic worm infections, and then vaccine preventable diseases. all really pretty cheap to prevent. And New Incentives is whom I've given the most money to this paycheck. And what New Incentives does is they run in Nigeria, and all they do is they hand out money to parents saying, if you vaccinate your child, we will give you like $5. You get $5 each time you get a vaccination in a course. And the evidence is they run this organisation based on the results of randomised trials around the world, well, particularly in Nigeria, where it shows that this intervention works. It works really effectively. People don't take advantage of it. People don't ignore it. It works, and it saves lives, and it's actually really cheap. And so if you're looking at how to save lives for the smallest amounts of money possible, this is an almost unbeatable intervention. It's very exciting. It's highly recommended by GiveWell, which is a charity evaluator in the US, centerpiece of the effective altruism movement, trying to do good smartly, effectively. And GiveWell highly recommends New Incentives as a really particularly cost-effective way to make the world a better place. Highly recommend everyone looking into it. International Women's Development Agency. I suppose a constant emergency that's happening all the time is the incredible inequality around the world, socioeconomic inequality. There's good evidence that I've read that empowering women in particular in developing communities, empowering women specifically, not just everyone or the men or the children, empowering women specifically seems to be a really effective way of improving communities socioeconomically. At the same time as, directly empowering women and providing that maybe kind of, social change aspect to it as well. So the International Women's Development Agency is an organisation I found out about through the Good Cause Co. This is an Australian charity evaluator that's actually shut down now. The philanthropy specialist Jess Bowman that ran this shut it down this year, which is a bit sad. But while it was running, it recommended a number of different organisations, only in Australia, only Australian organisations. And it recommended them based on their governance structures and their financial transparency, that kind of thing, not necessarily on the impact, which is harder to measure, which is more what GiveWell does. But it gives a good sense of charities that are, I guess, pretty reliable. I'm willing to take the expert advice of Jess Bowman on what charities are particularly good to give to, and one of them is International Women's Development Agency. And what the IWDA does is they operate mainly in they operate only in Southeast Asia and the Pacific, and they try and empower women. They have this program called WAVE, the Women's Action for Voice and Empowerment, and that what they do is they basically provide training and resources, money to local women's rights organisations. So this particular project, WAVE, they fund 20 different organisations in these countries, and they basically are trying to shoehorn women into positions of power, leadership, which I think is a really cool thing to try and do. And if you read this report, they're claiming that over the financial year 2018-2019, they've got 3,300 women into positions of power, leadership, which is kind of nuts. I don't know how they quantify that, what they count as a position of leadership, but 3,000 people is a lot. Very cool. They also support women's anti-gendered violence organisations to try and promote women's safety, and they try and promote women's economic empowerment they run a savings group, and they educate women on finances so that they're more empowered to save and be economically independent. So I think they're a really cool organisation, and I'm giving them $300 as well. Now, the Women for Afghan Women is an organisation that's been running for the last 20 years in Afghanistan. This is my attempt to try and help out the emergency situation in Afghanistan at the moment. It's an emergency, so it's really hard to know what's going on, who's doing what, and what's helping. Women for Afghan Women has been pretty quiet on Twitter the last few days. It's unclear exactly what's going on. Will they even be still running in a few weeks? I don't know. On their website, they're saying they are in emergency mode at the moment, basically. They're trying to evacuate people, keep their members safe, keep people safe. I don't know exactly what they are doing. I found out about this organisation through Twitter, through Google spreadsheets of organisations in Afghanistan that you can give to. So, I'm not going on a lot of strong evidence that what they're doing is high impact, highly effective, but in emergency situations, there's it's hard to know, and you sometimes have to make a bit of a shot in the dark, a bit of a guesswork. And I'm hoping that Women for Afghan Women can make use of this money somehow to help someone. And then the last organisation I've given to this fortnight is the Peter MacCallum Cancer Foundation. So Peter Mac is a research organisation in Australia, tries to research new ways to diagnose and treat cancer, reduce suffering and death from cancer. And I'm only giving them $50, and you might think I'm being a bit stingy. Oh, and Henry, you like cancer? No, I don't like cancer. All right. The reason I'm not giving them an enormous amount of money is a couple of things. One is that, so what Peter Mac is, it's a huge pool of money basically, and they hand out the money to researchers who then use that money for research. The vast majority of cancer research money in Australia comes from the NHMRC grants. So it's government funded. And always when I'm giving to something that's heavily government funded, I often wonder, well, if I give to it, does that just mean the government next year is going to reduce the budget for that thing in their next budget because, I'm picking up the slack? That's part of the reason, maybe a bit abstract, but the main reason is that they spend about 20 to 25% of their money on marketing. I don't know, this is what they say in their financial report. Marketing expenses, they spend $9.2 million out of their total of, this is the ACNC report, out of their $43 million in income on fundraising. Now, I get fundraising. I know why the fundraising consultants that Peter Mac hired told them to do this. It's because if you pay $1, you can get $5 back, and that's all very well and good. But the long-term consequence is that I think it erodes people's faith in charities. When you talk to people about charity, the response is often like, oh, well, that charities give all their money, just spend all their money on admin or fundraising. No, I mean, there's charities out there that don't do that, but some of them certainly do, and Peter Mac's really getting up there. 20-25% is a lot. So that's why I'm being a bit stingy and only giving them $50. But research, I think, is, it's one of those things, the impact of it's very difficult to measure, but almost everything that's good in the world, medicine and technology, has come from research, and funding research is an incredibly important thing for us to do. So yeah, that's who I've given to this past couple of weeks. Very, very keen to hear from anyone on your opinions on who I should be giving to, who I shouldn't be giving to, how I can be helping the situation. And all the best. My love to everyone out there. My love to the people of Afghanistan and everyone else that's suffering in the world and who will suffer. So long.